Welcome to Spindash, your third...
Not even 20 seconds in, you're fucking up.
Welcome to Spindash, the show that desperately wants to be your third favorite retro gaming podcast. My name is Matt, and I am this week's host. Joining me live from the Brazilian rainforest, let's give it up for Jungle Adventure John.
Steeped balls.
Ah, yeah. John, so you finally closed the window. We're not here in the rainforest outside.
No more beatboxing songbirds for our enjoyment.
Yeah. You could package them up and sell them.
I think I could. I'm going to try. Soon.
I hear Nick just getting shit-faced in the background.
Yeah, man. Slow down, dude.
Oh, man. He's jumping the intro. So, here we go. With us today, the man with no internet signal, Mr. 56K modem himself. Let's give it up for Nick.
What?
So what are you guys drinking tonight?
Orange juice, mango, with Belvedere vodka.
That's a lot of fanciness and a lot of stuff that isn't fancy.
I'm white trashing it tonight.
You're like white trash that just won a scratch ticket.
Oh, yeah.
John, what you got?
So, I have stopped drinking alcohol.
What?
As of Monday. And I'm not drinking again until the 28th. So...
What type of self-torture are you submitting yourself to?
Discipline. I want to see if I can do things here and there.
All right.
Yeah. And so I'm drinking a protein shake with kefir milk, which is an odd thing to do. I don't know if you've done
kefir milk
research on this. Kefir milk.
Kefir.
Kefir, I know you're with you. Oh, wait, no, that's the other one.
Janelle, I know you're with that Kefir.
Yeah, Kefir. Yeah, that's like a Kiefer Sutherland.
It's spelled Kefir, like kefir, your weed grounds.
So you're drinking weed on this podcast. I've given up alcohol for booze, for protein shake weed.
That would be a good combo. I think it's actually fermented goat milk is what it is. I believe. I don't know.
Well, I had the idea that we would all be drinking something like we'd all be in a bar, and the conversation on this whole podcast would resemble, a bunch of idiots in a bar drinking, talking about video games. And here you are drinking your fermented goat milk weed protein shake.
He's a fucking yuppie.
I gotta be unorthodox every now and then.
Well, good for you, I suppose. All right, let's get this show on the road. So my first bullet that I wanted to go over, you guys, meaning you, Nick, not you, John, because you can't figure out how Dropbox and all those other things work. What are you guys playing? Any recent pickups?
I've been using my 3DS mostly. So 3DS, and I'm debating on buying Shovel Knight because I saw it on there.
Shovel Knight is excellent. Excellent.
The game is hard.
But I've been doing some retro, quote-unquote, not retro gaming, but the most recent game I've actually went back to is Pokemon Yellow. So yeah, retro game.
Well, it's a retro gaming podcast, so that's good news.
Yeah.
John, you been playing anything or just farming out in the rainforest?
Yeah, been coming inside. I think I played Mario for an hour Saturday, maybe. And then I swore a bunch at it, and I threw a controller a little bit. So
well, that's good.
Yeah. I'm a little behind the times on gaming just because we have to plant a garden. So I've been doing that.
Good luck with that. With that.
It's great that we're doing this intro, by the way, too, because this E3 week as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got to catch up on some of the announcements. I've seen a couple memes out there. The one where they take George McMahon not George McMahon, the guy from WWE.
Vince McMahon.
Yeah. Well, if anyone ever listens to this, I'm like, what the hell is that guy's problem? No, they take his face and they put it on the meme, and it's like all these announcements, and every time it goes down a game, his face gets even more crazy, like he's more excited. And then it gets like the last announcement. I can't remember what the game was, and it's just he blows his load, it looks like.
Nice.
So, yeah, I got to catch up on that. So I've been kind of out of the loop. I've been rediscovering the Wii.
Yeah, you sent me some text messages last night of you rediscovering your Wii.
Is it the same as when you were 13 and you discovered it for the first time?
I can't put it down. I can't stop playing with it.
But
oh man, it's 2018 and we can still make Wii jokes, so that's good. Now I've been playing some Mario Galaxy. I've got about 16 stars left in it. I texted you guys when I was about ready to throw the controller through the wall. I've only broken one Wiimote in the past, so I think I've had a pretty good record.
I was there for that. Very funny.
I just can't see how you guys have breaking controllers out of frustration. I've never actually gotten that far.
Oh, you haven't lived. You haven't lived.
I'm a pretty chill person.
I've never seen John break a controller, but I've seen him break a phone with his controller.
Yeah, that was special. Good thing that was back in the day of slider phones when screens cost $8. So, not that bad, but very funny. So looking back, yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
that was a fond memory.
I think I was playing No More Heroes, and I can't remember what it was. I was fighting this person, and I kept losing over and over and over. And I just about had it, and I guess I can't remember what the boss is, but when you go and you beat them, it looks like you lose. Like they stab you with a sword, and then you pull your sword out and you cut their head off or something. Well, I thought I lost, and that was kind of the dramatic, like, you suck, here's the video clip. So I got pissed, and I took my Wiimote, and I hucked it down the hallway, only to sit there and watch myself, like, pull my sword out and then win. So I broke a controller for winning. So that's not one of my
Don't jump to conclusions, boys. That's the message.
Yeah. Other than that, Nick, I'm waiting for my 3DS charging cable to come back because I've got Bloodstained Circle of the Moon. Bloodstained Circle of the Moon.
Mm-hmm. That's a new Castlevania, right?
Yeah, I got about 3 levels into it. It's great. It's excellent.
Why do you must have a not a pawn shop, but
I'm just a cheap fucker. I've got one coming that I paid $1 for, but it's going to come between, today and sometime in July. So I've got.
So that's the same thing for my birthday was just recently. So Jump was a great friend and got me a SNES without a power cord and controllers. So I right now ordered controllers and I'm waiting on a power cord. And sometime between now and July 18th.
Well, there. I love that your SNES has that glorious golden hue to it. Mine does too. Mine has that. It's just as a kid, I remember trying to clean it up. I'm like, oh my god, I got Cheeto dust all over this stupid thing. Like, why can't I get this clean? It took me years before I learned that it was something fireproofing chemical they put in it. So I'm glad you got a glorious yellow SNES.
Yeah, I've heard stories where those things survive house fires on a second floor.
No kidding.
Yep. Yeah.
They built them durable back then. Like
they are rugged.
The 360, everyone had the red ring, and mine's finicky. I've got to play with it all the time to try to get the airflow nice so I don't overheat the thing. Like, you could throw a Super Nintendo down a flight of stairs and it would still work.
Same with the Sega.
Yeah, I think Nikki's Sega was thrown down a flight of stairs.
Now, which version does she have? Or she
got the Model 2. So she doesn't have the one. You've got the and I guess there's a difference between the two as far as the sound chip goes. The Model 1 can't output in stereo unless you play around with a headphone jack. You have to do all this weird stuff, but the sound chip in it's better.
Yeah, so you had a built-in volume on control on the actual system too. Like if you look at it, you see that little meter on there's like a little switch on the side or on the top of it where you can actually adjust the volume because you actually have ability to plug your headphones in.
Yeah, the Model 1 is definitely the prettier of the two.
Yeah, I love my Model 1. I remember when I got it for Christmas. It was 91 or so 90.
This is actually a pretty good segue into the next point. And Nick, I'm thinking we'll jump back to you because you're kind of the anomaly here with some of some of your consoles. But John, I'm interested in hear your retro gaming background. When did you get in? When did you get hooked?
Yeah. So I'm probably the least committed of the three of us to gaming. My attention span seemed to have dropped off right after college.
You're really on here for the sexy voice. We just need a 1-900 voice on this thing.
I try. Got to keep my vocal cords fresh. So, yeah, I was pretty diehard when I was a kid. We had an Atari. Actually, we probably had 7 Ataris because my dad was a yard sale fiend. He could find pretty much anything. And so he'd find Ataris. This was, I'd say, 1990. So they were well past their prime. And he would find them for dirt cheap in all sorts of states of disrepair. And we'd tweak them if need be. Neither of us really knew what the hell we were doing. But we'd get them working, and then I don't know if it was just time or what, but they would crap out, and it would not take long. But the funny thing about that is that you accumulate all these games because he'd go find them, and they'd have games with them. So I must have had like 3 dozen Atari games when I was 4.
Did you get rid of them?
I don't know where they are.
Dude, your dad must still have those somewhere. He's not a person.
We brought one out to camp, and when we were renovating camp, I found it. So I have one with 2 joysticks and like 15 games. I can't get it to work because the solder that somebody did on the power cable to prepare it is broken.
Is it the power cable that's effed, or is it actually on the board?
No, it's the power cable. I haven't really messed with it too much. I would just look for a power cable and see if that bad boy will run.
Nah, some of the Ataris, and I don't know if that's on the 2600, but I definitely know the 5200 had a really fucky power supply. It was weird. It's like all your audio, like the power ran through the AV cable. It had this weird switch box like thing. That was the thing that shit the bed because we grew up playing on a 5200, and it shit. The dogs chewed one of the cables, but yeah, it's got this weird switch box. So you can mod them if it's like the 52. You can mod them so that they run off a standard power supply. Otherwise, you have to try to find these special switch things. Yeah, they're real screwed up.
Yeah, and I've kind of put it on the back burner because we've moved around so much and haven't really had room to set them up. But now we got our house, and now I have my setup all ready to go. So it's just a matter of time in the winter or when I get bored.
I like the fact that you tricked someone out of your league to marry you, and now that you guys own a house together, you're just filling it with retro shit. It's like, yep, you thought I was a catch? No, I'm a big dork.
It fits in because the house is retro, so, I tell her. But it's also nice because we have cupboards, so they're hidden.
Yeah.
So all the fancy people don't have to see them. Otherwise, I probably could not have this.
John, before you go too much further, you mentioned the last time. So for anyone that actually does listen to this, we recorded an intro before.
It was so bad.
We didn't know what the hell we were doing. Everyone's mic recorded over everyone else. I played with my beard the entire time. The mic picked it up. It was really terrible. But you mentioned you had a Magnavox Odyssey.
I did. I finally scoured it and I found, because I just remember what it looked like. I don't remember the name of it. So I looked and we had one of those. And reference, my dad is a collector and he lives in this big old house and it's filled. So in the next 5 years, we're going to go through and clean most of it out. So I'm expecting to find some things that I haven't seen that are mine in like 20 years.
Yeah, so I could just see it now.
I'm hoping this is here.
Hey, John, I didn't tell you this, but I've got like 15 copies of this Earthbound game here. They're all complete in box. I don't know what you want me to do with them.
Yeah. We find something that's worth 6 figures.
I got this little Samson thing. I don't know what the hell this thing is.
So yeah, we had one of those. That was fun. I don't have a whole lot of memories of them because I was so little. And we moved on, and they got me a Super Nintendo when I was 6. So that took over, and we played that all the time, and that was my favorite. And I still have the original one with all the games. I don't think I've ever thrown or traded a game away. I've lost a couple here and there.
You've lost more than you should have.
To friends, yep.
Did you ever move on past that? I mean, I know you owned a Wii because we both had a Wii in college, but did you ever?
Yeah.
Did you have any of the other ones?
Yeah, we got a regular Nintendo at some point, and then the 64 when it came out. Again, another find by my crafty father to trade with some guy so he could get one of the release date N64s at Kmart. So I got pretty lucky. Christmas '96 when the frenzy was at its peak.
You were that kid screaming?
I was that kid, and then thankfully nobody recorded it. Otherwise, I'd be internet famous. Negative note.
Oh, you will become internet famous.
Well,
you're gonna try, man. You're gonna try till I'm old and dead.
Well, I can post one video.
Yeah.
Of you flipping out gaming.
So yeah, we had that, and then I got a Dreamcast, which it was okay. I think I was starting to kind of phase out of games without other people at that point, because that's when Halo was getting big, and we got into high school, and everybody was doing the Halo parties and all that.
It's weird. Gaming, I had this weird like blank spot in gaming where I remember I did it a ton as a kid, and then there was a time where it just completely stopped. I have no recollection of playing any games during that time. I know I did, but it wasn't important to me. And then I don't know, right about the time maybe the Xbox came out, everyone, at least around me, their interest kind of peaked back up. But I don't know, there was a phase where it wasn't a thing. You didn't want to be a gamer. I can't explain it. Nick, you're kind of the opposite to John and I think, because John had all these weird consoles. He had I wouldn't be surprised if John had a Philips CDI hiding around in his dad's. But for the most part, I'd say John and I are Nintendo fanboys. I would describe you as our token Sega fanboy. You've got a much different history, I would say, than John and I do with these consoles. So, I guess.
So my history started with this. Actually, the first system I actually owned was a Sega Genesis. I remember when it first came out, I got the Sega Genesis Sonic Hedgehog package for Christmas. It was my big gift. I was lucky enough to live with my brother's family. So my brother's dad was pretty rich, and his family was pretty rich, so they afforded some pretty big gifts. So started off with Sonic Hedgehog, and I literally played the hell out of that for a while. I didn't actually play any other games until probably Echo the Dolphin, I think, was the next game I played on a Sega. Then Aladdin, Lion King, Altered Beast. I think I even had a random game of like Cool Spot. So you remember what Cool Spot?
The red dot shithead?
Yeah, from 7-Up.
Game. I love that game.
So I played the hell out of that.
Like a Mario knockoff?
My friend had a second gen Sega Genesis, so he had Sonic 2. My brother ended up getting a third gen, I think, down the road, and he ended up having Sonic Knuckles and Sonic 3. Played actually probably my favorite game for Sega Genesis was probably it's between Quackshot, starring Donald Duck, or it was probably Sonic Spinball.
I like Sonic Spinball. That was a good one.
Also,
it's kind of neat that you mentioned Quackshot. Like, this was an era where you could just pick up a Disney game and it was guaranteed to be fun. I'm not familiar with Quackshot, but I know for the most part, like, most Disney games were excellent back then. It was
a very fun game. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I used to have like anger fits with Echo the Dolphin because I just didn't get the fucking concept with that.
It's supposed to be a calming game. It's like
yeah, it didn't calm me at all.
It's like golf.
Also, probably other game I played a lot of for the Sega was Hook.
Yeah.
Nick gets triggered by dolphins when he sees them.
It's just horrible. I played a lot of Road Rash 2 too. I love Road Rash 2 actually with my cousins because my cousin had it. So every time we went over my cousin's house, we'd play Road Rash 2. So I played the hell out of that. And I mean, gaming for me, my family gamed. So my mom was a video gamer. She had an original Game Boy. So I snagged that, played that for a while. I used to play a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on it, Paperboy. And then my stepdad was a gamer too, so we ended up getting the Super NES. You know, Mom would play the hell out of Zelda Link's Past. I would beat it before she even had a chance to even finish the first, 2 castles.
That was a long game.
Yeah, it was a very long game. But for Super NES, pretty much I think the basics or the ones I think everyone had was Super Mario Brothers All-Star, Super Mario World. One I really loved was Spider-Man and Venom's Maximum Carnage. Never beat the game, so I thought it was hard, and I would love to go back to it. But right now, it's so damn pricey online. So
that's one of those red carts, right?
It's a red cart, yeah. So there's 3 carts of different color for the SNES. It's Doom, Killer Instinct, and Maximum Carnage. So Doom and Maximum Carnage are red, and Killer Instinct is black.
Why in God's name they didn't make A Link to the Past a gold cart is beyond me. They missed a huge opportunity there.
Huge. Very huge.
The other one for regular Nintendo was gold, right?
Yeah, the original Nintendo, they had a gold and a gray version. Yeah. I know the Zelda 2 was a gold, and I'm guessing a gray. And I think the 64, you could get it either way.
You could.
Yeah, I had the gray.
I had the gold for the 64.
There was a yellow for one of them that was super rare.
Right? I haven't seen the yellows. Nintendo. I know there's a yellow Game Boy Color game for Donkey Kong.
Yeah, and Donkey Kong 64 was yellow too.
That's right. And then the Pokemon games were different color cards, correlating with whatever version they are.
Matt, how does this flow with your OCD there, if you have these all lined up?
My arrangement in the office, I've actually just threw them in. They're not in any order, but what drives me crazy...
You're a changed man.
I've calmed down. But why they didn't give the N64 end labels, like, it pisses me. I mean, you can buy them online. There's a couple Etsy sellers that make them. Like, you buy the whole 200-something N64 library. You get all the stickers to put on your cart so you actually can see what they are when you line them up on a bookshelf. Why they didn't do that is beyond me. It drives me absolutely crazy.
So, with SNES, the one game I played the most, though, probably out of every game to this day, was Mortal Kombat 2. Because me and my friend would have a challenge to see who could learn the most fatalities. So we had pretty much at one point, we each knew majority of all characters' fatalities just off the top of our head. And the one I was really proud of getting was Sub-Zero's 2-part fatality. So he had a 2-part fatality where you would freeze your victim, then you would walk over, then you would uppercut, and the top torso would explode and blood everywhere.
I think in the future I'd like to do an episode on Mortal Kombat 2. I think that the first one was, I don't know, it was important at the time, but there's something about the second one that is just so appealing. I'd like to do that as we get further down the line, as we visit Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah. So from SNES, it really jumped off. My parents ended up getting PlayStation, played the hell out of that with Twisted Metal, Resident Evil games, Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I also did handheld, so I still had a Game Boy Pocket for the game for Pokemon Red was my first actual game. Then I went to color with Pokemon Silver, Pokemon trading card game. What else? I jumped. So when it starts to kind of get like weird, I guess what Matt was referring to earlier is my dad was into buying games, anything. So one of the things we bought was a 3DO. So 3DO had pretty much almost everything that PlayStation would have. I mean, it has some exclusive, I guess, quote unquote exclusives. I remember for the 3DO, the one game I liked was it was a gecko that you would go into the TV of different realms. So one would be like a scary movie, one would be like an adventure game, and just different levels. And I loved the hell out of the game because it was a green little lizard and it was really cool. Thought that was just phenomenal game. My mom played hell out of Myst too, which I couldn't wrap my brain around at the time. It was like this game sucks. It's just puzzles. There's no action.
I'm gonna make you guys play that in the future, just so you know.
See, I'd be okay with that now.
Either Mr. Ribbon. I absolutely loved Ribbon. So that's on the horizon. Be ready for that.
Yeah, I have no problem playing that now. I mean, and that was when it drived off. My dad got a Dreamcast for me. I loved the Dreamcast. The games only game we had though for it. We had a couple, but the only game I played was Soul Reaver. So it's part of Kane's Quest, which Kane was there's a bunch of vampire games.
Oh yeah, that game was.
So it's a 2-1. This one was pretty much you're a vampire that just eats souls. Supposed to there because you're getting your revenge on Kane. And from there,
when I got one, that was.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty much it for Dreamcast. I didn't really play much of it. I mean that's a cool concept. I mean. We had it, and we ended up selling it. Obviously, jumped off N64, PS2, Game Boy Advance, all the versions of Game Boy Advance I had. I ended up getting after I moved out of my parents' place. I got myself a GameCube, Xbox 360, PS3, all the way down to 3DS, XL, PS4.
You're in the modern era now.
Yeah, I went all the way modern. I kept up just because with gaming all there. My roommate and one of my good friends, Nick, was a big gamer for computers, and we played a lot of the 360 from Call of Duty games and all that. Yep. And so just kept with it, and then just switched over to the PS4 because Xbox hasn't wowed me.
Sure. So I guess I'd jump in and I'd do, I guess, my abridged version because I know we got to get to some other things on this, but I think my gaming really started with my uncle. My cousins and I, we would go to my grandmother's every weekend, and I think to give us something to do, he would just drop off whatever console he had moved on from. So when he got his NES, we got his Atari 5200. We thought that was the greatest thing in the world until the dog chewed the cable, like I mentioned earlier. He moved on to a Sega Genesis, and then we got the NES. I remember playing the NES probably more than anything else at my grandmother's. His collection was kind of neat. If you're scrolling through the internet on like NES hidden gems, he had most of those. I mean, he didn't have like little Samson or anything like that, but Faxanadu, he had Battle of Olympus, all these kind of, RPG-like games that you see on all these lists now. He had all those. So, you'd talk to people about games and, hey, you guys have played Faxanadu. I'm like, no, I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, no, they got no love back then.
No. And as much as I want to slag his collection for not having Mega Man 2, he had a lot of great games. Castlevania. I mean, my love for Castlevania came out of that. The other thing that's interesting, looking back on my history of gaming, is how much my parents really played into it. I think we underestimate how much our parents influenced our gaming. I mean, John, your dad pretty much made your gaming history. Same thing, Nick, on your family on your end. I know for Christmas I wanted an NES, and my dad talked me out of it. His big thing was they're not going to be making NES games anymore. You should get the Super Nintendo. So I blindly went along with it, and that's my favorite system to date. I played the hell out of Mario. I played the hell out of Mega Man X. This was the rental era, so I'd probably say I'd had maybe 6 games, but I rented a ton. If I wasn't an asshole that week, my mom would take me to the place down the street. They had an excellent collection of games. I think my biggest gaming regret, which I've remedied now, but when they went out of business, I had the chance to buy Final Fantasy III for like $6. And I was like, nah, I'm already going to buy one game from you guys. This is $6 whole is too much to spend on this game that I would spend the rest of, I don't know, the next 10 years seeking out and then end up having to pay like $30-$40 for it. So
if I'm alive after you're dead, I'm going to put that on your tombstone. That's the biggest regret of your life right there.
Yeah. I mean, I live a pretty good life if that is the only regret I have. So, I skipped the N64 PlayStation era, and I don't know why. I think it's because I was waiting to get one and I never did. So I was so far into the cycle. I was like, I'll wait for the next one, which was the GameCube. But at that point, I lost interest. I remember my cousin got a PlayStation, and I thought that was the stupidest decision on the face of the earth. Like, why would anyone turn their back on Nintendo? They released the SNES. Like, what are you, some kind of idiot? And that was the time they
change is bad.
It was change is bad. Why would you do something this stupid? And I think hindsight being 2020, the 64 had some great games, but the PlayStation I think was just a better console. That's open for debate because there's nothing on PlayStation that I think rivals Super Mario 64. So, it's a tough call. If someone would, Final Fantasy VII is going to be the one everyone cites, but
I need to put the Resident Evils in there.
I had a Mario 64
against the first Resident Evil, the first game that actually had where you're blowing someone's head off, realistically. And
that was like Duke Nukem and that stuff, wasn't it?
Well, but this was a scare game. Duke Nukem was not scary at all. You had a guy that had stupid catchphrases, at the time, and just, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah.
Rip off your head and shit down your neck.
Where this was like, for Resident Evil, that was like a kind of like playing a movie at the time. Like you said, it's up for debate. I think it's completely up to date, and I think that'd be a good one to do a poll, like a Twitter poll for.
I think we battle that one out later. Not on this podcast, because this is kind of our intro, get a feel for things podcast. But I guess to sum things up, I skipped the N64 era. I played on everyone else's N64. I'd go to their house, play GoldenEye.
Such a mooch.
I was a mooch. And I largely skipped out on the next. I wanted nothing to do with the GameCube, which I regret now because they all hold their value. But it was a stupid purple console. Why would anyone want this kid toy when you can go over to your friend's house and play Halo? And that was kind of the era of big Halo parties. So yeah, that's really my history of retro gaming. I've kind of picked it back up recently. I for the longest time I was more of an emulation person. I know that's a dirty word. I'm trying to rectify that with my collecting right now, but I guess moving onward, what is the reason for this podcast? I know we all have a love of retro gaming. I think it's different from person to person and why they got into it and why they are still interested in it.
This retro gaming, I think, for me, and gaming in general, is just it's a good escape. I'm a father of, as both one kid, and I have one on the way, so it's just a good
Spoiler
escape.
alert.
All right?
Yeah.
Good escape, just to, get away and just game a little bit, and then also do something else I like to do is talk. You both know me as someone that can talk and talk quite a bit. So it's great to, talk about my passions and just get it out there, especially with two good friends.
So I know when we first started this endeavor, John had the question of, okay, so what are we doing? Is this a review? Is this a playthrough? What are we looking to do? Because ideally, my vision when I was discussing this with you earlier was we would pick a game each time we did it. Sometimes maybe more than one game. If it's we picked a couple Atari games that are simple. Maybe go over a couple. We'll do a whole episode on Atari shooters, things that are similar. I lost my train of thought, but you kind of get the gist where I was going.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to do a review because one, the game has been fucking reviewed already. It's half the games we're replaying are over decade to 2 decades old at this point. So It's been reviewed. I think now it's more like, what is our thoughts of it now after playing it from being 6-year-old to being in our 30s? Does it still hold up? Does it still not just have the nostalgia value, but does it still have the value of entertainment just in general? And honestly, I think a lot of games still hold up that I played so far. Like, oh, this still holds up. Then there's some where it's just like, oh wow, how did I get entertained by this?
Yeah, and I'm going to go out of order on my little outline that I prepared, so bear with me. But I had the question of why retro gaming? Why is this a thing right now? Because I'm not the only one that's picked up this stuff recently and said, hey, this is, all these consoles that I loved back when, they hold value and they hold up. But I was looking to get you guys' take on, why is this a thing? I would say that it picked up maybe, 2010 to 2000.
I think we're seeing 11? A bigger pickup, right now, between like 2010 to now. I think even slowly seeing an increase, but I think it's because our generation now is getting into the point where they're buying houses, they're businessmen and women, and they're starting families, and they're like, it's kind of not like a quarterly life crisis almost, I'd say. So we're trying to get some part of our childhood back to keep us sane and keep us feeling young.
So you think it's kind of like the comic book thing where you have a bunch of people that had these things as kids and now they have disposable income or revisiting it?
Yeah. I mean, the income we make now out of college versus what we had as kids is kind of insane. You think about it, especially at that time in 2010, I had no real responsibilities. I wasn't getting married. I wasn't in a relationship at that moment in time or just starting one. So I had, $200-300 a week that I could just dispose of any way I felt like I wanted to.
John, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think's driving it? That's kind of I'm coming out of left field on this one, hitting you with a tough question, but what do you think is driving it?
Comfortability. The new games, these kids that you got to play with now, right? So most of the stuff is online and you play against other people and there's all this hype over it and you got to compete. And you got to grab the spotlight, like with all these, Fortnite and all that stuff now. You want to be the top in the world. And I don't know if it's a majority, but for a lot of people, it's just they want to play to relax and all that. So they don't want to become invested in these things. And to get good at a lot of these new games, you got to put in a lot of hours. I feel like...
I love the tone of this where it's like the kids these days, like we're in our early 30s, kids these days with their Xboxes.
Well, it's pretty freaking humiliating when you're playing one of these games and some little 12-year-old, completely rips you and just destroys you and you don't want to play anymore.
But the thing also with gaming now, it's not just an entertainment factor, I think, for fun. I think it's like a way for them to, for the kids and for pretty much, I think, people out of our generation to put online. It's more like, hey, I play this game, you gotta look at me. And so it's more like a attention getter or to have that attention while they're playing. Like, I don't hear kids like, yeah, I played this for a while and we just play with my friends. It's now, yeah, I played this and I'm on Twitch right now. Oh, cool. It's awesome, but at the same time, it's like, don't you just get a bunch of friends and just do a, open LAN party or something like that, or have a bunch of guys over and just, play just for the sake of playing and not having to worry about posting it?
Yeah,
that's my mindset, and as you two can attest, that's what I like doing, and I don't play much alone on games. I'd rather, we go play Mario Kart and slam beers, and then play Smash Brothers until our eyes start to hurt, because I forget to blink sometimes when I'm playing video games, and I don't realize that it is happening, and then I want to cry because
you get down, you
can't see.
You look like you smoked a ball. You look real bad.
Oh my god! We play those Marathon Smash Brothers, and I'd go to class and I couldn't see the board because like my contacts had dried out completely. Yeah, I like it. Just it's something to do when you're all hanging out and you're not going out. If you don't have plans and you want to just hang out, it's something else to do.
I think the big thing for me, when you read through, everyone and their brother cites nostalgia. It's like we grew up with these things. These are the only reason why these things hold value is because we enjoyed them when we were little, but beyond that, they don't really have any value. It's just kind of a niche group that follow the retro gaming thing. I disagree with that to some extent. I mean, yeah, if you look at the rising prices, that would tell you that there is a bubble, that it is kind of a niche thing, and maybe it is nostalgia driving it, just like the comic market. But I think there's something more in the design that speaks to us. It's a more simplified design.
It's softer.
It's a game that's more rule-based than cinema-based, maybe. I find a lot of games that I play now are very cinema-heavy, where I just want to sit down and play the game, stop throwing text bubbles in my face, stop walking me through everything. How about you let me figure it out on my own? So I think design plays into it, and I've got an interesting story. I threw this on the outline for you guys, and you guys are probably going, what the hell is this? So over the weekend, we went to a brewery, of all places, that had kids that could go there, which was kind of interesting. But they had a couple arcade cabinets, and the Donahues were with us at the time, and Party D and I, we brought Maddie and Charlotte up. We were playing the Simpsons game, the arcade game. They had no idea what the hell they were doing. I mean, they were just beating the hell out of the sticks, and it was fun to watch. Like, you couldn't pull them away from this arcade cab. They just like beating the hell out of these sticks. There were a couple kids that were next to us playing. I think it was a MAME machine. iCade was the name on it. And I remember these two little kids, they couldn't figure it out. It was free play, so you just had to push a button, and it would give you all the coins you need to play. They accidentally hit the coin button and the start button, and it fired up 1942. And this one little kid was flipping his shit. Like, this is the best game I've ever played. It's like he probably didn't know any better. I mean, he's probably hasn't been exposed to all this other stuff out there. So it's not like he's at a point in his life where he's been told, okay, gaming needs to be these immersive 3D environments. He just liked the idea that he moved the stick and he hit a button and shit happened. So I think there's a simplified design that speaks to people that you're not seeing in a lot of games now.
I agree with you on that one. And it's nice too with cell phones and tablets. There are some simpler games. I think those are helping this, and people are rediscovering what they liked before. Because as we all know, with Facebook and Instagram and all the throwback stuff, looking at your past is cool. And, jumping into things that you've done before and shared with people is something that's cool now. So,
I think the indie market, really, the small developer market, is really helping this along. You had games like Axiom Verge, which is basically a Super Metroid, but kind of a dated graphic looking game. Mega Man 9, when that came out, John, you have fond memories of
sweet Jesus.
The Wii in general. I think the Wii actually drove a lot of this, or at least contributed to a virtual console. I think reminded people a lot of these games. Now, granted, someone's listening to this saying, I don't know why retro gaming is the thing right now. It never stopped for me. I've been collecting the whole time, or I've been emulating the whole time. I never stopped playing these things. So, this is just an anomaly to me.
Well, I think what it is now it's become a popular thing for retro gaming. So you have kids that are collecting these retro games that are driving up the quote-unquote prices because they're like, oh, my dad used to play this and raved about it. Oh, this is awesome. So you have them kind of buying it and like trying to put money into it because they have disposable income now as well. So you have a lot of people buying into it and getting into it because, like John said, the mobile versions of a lot of games we played aren't out now. You can buy all three Sonics on the iPhone and Android now. So you can play your classic, Sonic the Hedgehog games right on there. You can also... I
think you get them for free, I think.
You can do a free version, you can do the paid version. I bought the paid version so I don't have to see ads, I can just cruise through. But you can buy all these games. What I saw, they had Final Fantasy had a full package all the way up to 7. Final Fantasy 7 that you could buy for I think it was $100 through the App Store.
Avoid that like the plague.
So you have you had 1 through 7, all of them for $100 right there.
Is it the re-graphicked one? So Square Enix has this terrible, awful love of taking all these great Super Nintendo era graphic games and then trying to modernize them with this really shitty looking 3D. It's the Chrono Trigger. The Chrono Trigger one is fucking awful. It'll make your eyes bleed. It's what have you done to this beautiful game?
See, I ended up buying one retro game. I bought 2. I bought Sonic the Hedgehog 1 because it actually works pretty good, and I got to a point where I was pretty decent with it. And I bought Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yep.
Now, granted, it's not the quote-unquote the exact same tactics, but it's pretty damn close. They just changed some names, updated a couple things where you had to do a couple, but it plays very well, and it was good because I was like, oh, this is awesome. I don't have to play this on my TV. I can play this in bed. I can play this on my break at work. I can play this. So that ease of use of being able to play anywhere I wanted to is good. And now you have people that are also taking retro gaming to even bigger, where they're taking pies and quote-unquote emulating them into handhelds. Or you have people that are building a handheld that would take any cartridge, be it Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega, and you just plug it in, and you can go anywhere you want with it. So you have a handheld Nintendo pretty much in your hand. Not a Game Boy, but actual Nintendo cartridge that you can plug in.
I think that's one of the more exciting things about this to me. I get online, I get into forums. I don't actually comment on forums, but I go and I read people's comments because it cracks me up. But, what is it, lurching or whatever the hell it is?
Lurking.
Lurking, thank you. I read everyone in there complaining about, oh my God, the prices are through the roof. I wish this bubble would pop. These prices are insane. I wish these scalpers would stop driving up the price. And I get that. I want to be able to go out and buy Earthbound right now too for dirt cheap. But that's not a reality. But I think there's a benefit to having these high prices in that there's a lot of new stuff being introduced. As the market expands, there's new controllers being introduced. I don't know. As far as the future of the industry, I actually think it's a positive thing. I actually think it's somewhat sustainable. You may have your bubble elements, and there's some proof when you look at NES collecting. Contra at one point hit $40 a cart. Now it's back down in the 20s. So I think things will stabilize, but I think at the end of the day, I don't think people are going to give up on these games. I think there's something intrinsically valuable in them that people are going to want to keep playing them, at least the good ones.
Yeah, I think, you will probably see them do pop. You'll probably see it where they go down. You'll probably see it at a point where everyone's not buying it. So I think you'll probably see, I bet within probably 2 years, you'll see all these games take a pretty good drop.
Do you think it's generational and that?
I think you'll see it generational. You'll see it where everyone of our generation has either collected it.
Yep.
And they got what they needed. And there'll still be people, like I said, it ain't going to stop or go away, but I think you'll see it drop and you'll see it's probably spike up again, but you'll see it'll drop. And then you'll see us who were able to afford these games on the first time around, go and buy them.
I think that the cool thing is it seems to be, following the demographics. So, NES, I remember when there was Atari collecting picked up and a lot of those prices have dropped. NES kind of had its heyday. Now that's back down. Super Nintendo is expensive as fuck right now.
Sega's getting there too.
Yeah, Sega was dirt cheap to collect for. I bought a couple games and all of them have gone up. I'm glad I bought them when I did. So I'm willing to bet 64. PlayStation's probably
64 is starting to go up now too. I noticed that. I was taking a look online. I was like, oh, good Lord. Someone was trying. No, it's nothing godly expensive, but I was like, oh, hey, I want to buy the 64 that I got. So the 64 I got was the jungle green It was the Donkey Kong package one when that came out.
Yeah.
So it came with a Rumble pack already, so I didn't have to, or the expansion pack already, so I didn't have to worry about the expansion pack with any new games. It was clear green, which was my favorite color, and it came with Donkey Kong. Now, just to get without the expansion pack and probably just a controller and hitch ups is $100.
Yeah, it's that, and that one's. I think that one's sought after. I think the green one is one that people try to hunt down.
Yeah.
I guess I got to move this all along a little bit.
Yeah, we got to actually close up because my wife actually needs help. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to actually bounce out.
All right,
and let you guys finish up.
Yeah,
that's and I'll send you guys my stuff.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, hey guys, take it easy. We'll continue this later.
Later, man.
Bye.
All right, man. See ya.
All right, John. So it's you and I.
Yes, sir.
Nick has abandoned us for his fatherly duties.
Yeah, it happens.
I hear you. I've lucked out. Nikki's on Charlotte duty, I think. Hope. She's probably sleeping. So the last bullet I had to kind of cover is our definition of retro gaming for our purpose. There's no real definition out there that everyone uses consistently, which drives me absolutely crazy. If you get on Wikipedia, I want to say it's, they go first generation games all the way to sixth generation, which I think they define as GameCube, Xbox, and PS2. Mm-hmm. But I was hoping maybe you and I can kind of get, at least for this podcast, what we think retro gaming is, how we want to base our definition. So when we're picking games and covering games, what games we're going to be the ones we're going over. I bulleted this, and we can deviate, but either going release date based. So every, something 10 years old counts as retro gaming. Maybe something generation based, 2 or 3 generations removed, or going off features, things that define the consoles. What do you think is the cleaner approach?
So, and I've said this a few times in Drunken Rants, is that I think retro is pre-cable internet. And that has to do with the multiplayer online factor. I think that turned the tide and made everything, all these MMOs and these first-person shooters that everybody jumps online and plays, and they kind of shifted away from just first player, you do everything yourself. It's a linear storyline, and that's it. So I think that it was pre-cable internet, which I think that kind of got big around, I want to say, 2002, 2003.
Yeah, that seems about right, because, and in my notes, what I was jotting down, if I was going game design based, kind of under the features, like, right around that time, and granted, the PS2 is a little different, and they're a little blurry on features, because you look at something like the Dreamcast, that had an online component to it.
It was like a hot pile of garbage. Man.
It was rudimentary, but it was online. But I think the defining moment, the GameCube had 6 games that handled some form of online, Phantasy Star Online. The PS2 had an online thing, but you had to have the hard drive. But what defined online for me was Xbox. What was the first one to use Xbox Live? I don't know. But Halo 2. Halo 2 for me, that was kind of the moment that signaled we were in modern gaming. That had an online component that had DLC to it.
Yeah.
You could download map packs.
Yeah, I remember going and copying from other people's Xboxes. You want to go play. I don't know how we did it in college. But you'd go and get their disc and you'd burn it or whatever, so you could get the maps.
I think around that time, too, feature-wise, a lot of things started changing. So we went from strictly D-pad or D-pad and single analog stick to, dual analog stick being the standard. With the exception of Wii was kind of an anomaly there, and Dreamcast, I'm not really sure why they went single stick after the DualShock came out on PlayStation. So, I mean, there's some odds and ends here and there, but right around this 6th generation, if I think that right, 6th or 5th or 6th, I get a mix up, 6th.
For the PS2.
Yeah, you had all these things that we see in modern gaming become pretty much standard.
Yeah.
The storage formats change, so the old, before it'd be password saves, then it was saves on carts. As you got into the CD, DVD era, memory cards became standard to hard drive saves. So
yeah,
I think around this era, everything started changing. So I guess my question to you is, where do we draw the line? In my head, I draw it at Dreamcast, but I'm curious to get your take.
I can agree with you on that one. Even though the PS1 had the dual stick, right?
Yep.
I'd still consider that as a retro console. But you did bring up a good point there with the dual sticks, because that totally changed everything as well.
I think the legs on that generation too. I mean, PS2 lived on forever.
Yeah.
If I was Sony, I would have been panicking as far as what do I do with a PS3, because everyone, there's like 100-something million units of PS2 sold.
Yeah, they held on to those, and everybody had one, and all the games like Tony Hawk, and what was it? What was the other big one on PS2?
I mean, they figure they had all the Final Fantasies.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll be honest. That's kind of my that's where I kind of checked out and maybe became an Xbox guy, just because I'm not really familiar with the PS2. I'm kind of being reacquainted with it. I'm kind of the one man on earth that skipped the PS2.
Yeah, and I honestly like the Xbox controller better because the sticks are at different spots. I don't really like them right next to each other. I don't know why. I can't tell you if it's an aesthetics thing or just, comfort, but yeah, it felt a lot better.
That's a debate that has gone on since the beginning of time. I've had a fight with Corey about that for years, because he is a hardcore PlayStation controller person. I've always leaned more Xbox. The D-pad is shit. I think they fixed it with the Xbox One, but the D-pad's been shit. But I like their sticks better, and I like the way they did their triggers.
Yeah, the triggers are really nice. And I also think, too, because we had Halo when we did, and it was a group activity, and that kind of steered me towards Xbox rather than PlayStation. And Halo's a lot of fun. That's probably the game I've played the most since I turned 18.
So I'm thinking we're going to draw the line probably around the Dreamcast. Probably room for argument. I think Nick could make some pretty strong points, and I think he was the big one pushing to include PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. And I think he's got some good points. For ease of getting a hold of things, I would say anything pre-Dreamcast we could probably pull off, with the exception of Saturn. I think it's going to be hard.
Yeah, there's some rare ones dating back a ways.
It's just, we can't cheat and emulate Saturn.
Yeah.
If we stick to the older ones, we have most of the older ones. I mean, granted, we're recording the fact that we're emulating, so FBI beware. But, we have most of the older ones, but Saturn's kind of tough. Dreamcast, I think Nick may still, does he still have his? You got rid of yours, right?
So I traded my Dreamcast for my friend to mod my original Xbox, so it could play around with other consoles. I'm not going to say the E word, but yeah. So it did that.
Dirty word.
So I traded that away because I kind of lost interest in Dreamcast after a while. And the games were very hard to find. So, I did that. But then at a pawn shop or a flea market or something, when I was right after college, I found a Dreamcast console with nothing else for 50 cents. So I have that and no other things with it. So I don't know how much use it's going to be.
A bunch of collectors just puked themselves going, oh my God. you get it for 50 cents. These stories are great. I love there's a Reddit forum for collecting that you can go on, and people are like, oh, I found this ultra rare thing at a pawn shop for $5. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I mean, I think Nick can raise some good points, and we'll circle back on this. Mm-hmm. Handhelds. Where do you draw the line there? That was kind of the one that I was wishy-washy on when we first set out on this.
Man, that's a funny one too, because I don't consider them like a console, so it didn't cross my mind as much as the other stuff. But I would just throw out that the Game Boy Advance would be like where it stops for me.
Yeah, and it's weird because Game Boy Advance came out around the time that it came out after, I think, PS2 and right around the time that the GameCube came out. But it's the way the games were designed on it were very retro feeling. I know that gets us into some murky waters because if that's the case, then why isn't Mega Man 9 a retro game?
Yeah. But no virtual console.
But I mean, it was 32-bit. It checks off a lot of boxes that I would put to define a retro gaming system. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, the DS is it's more advanced, I think.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know how many DSs there are now. I didn't keep up with that, but
great little unit, great.
Yeah, I've heard.
Well, John, we're gonna move on, kind of wrap things up.
We're just about to hit an hour.
Yeah, this is kind of the last thing, and I was hoping we would do this going forward. A lot of podcasts I listen to do this. It's a bit of a cliche, but I don't care. It's fun. It's at least entertaining to kind of get to the heart of what someone thinks. I mean, you know somebody by their instincts, I guess. So I call this the turbo button round.
All right.
So I'm going to read you a series of questions as fast as I can.
Okay.
And I want your gut instinct on these. Yep. Also, before I start this, I do want to say, when I initially planned this, I was going to have Nick go first, because I figured you'd be shit-faced and you'd need all the time to let your brain catch up to the question. But now that you're amped up on all this, fermented goat milk, you should be ripping and raring and ready to go.
I'm good, man.
Okay, so you're ready. Are you good?
Yes.
Okay. Mario or Sonic?
Mario.
Genesis or SNES?
SNES.
N64, PS1 or Saturn?
N64.
Emulation or hardware?
Hardware.
Wipe save game or being kicked in the nuts?
Oh, wipe save game.
Final Fantasy 3 on SNES or 7 on PS1?
3, SNES.
Mortal Kombat 2 or Street Fighter 2?
Street Fighter 2.
Cheeto dusted NES controller or a flaccid stick N64 controller?
Flaccid stick.
Gunstar Heroes or Contra?
Contra.
Trapped on an island with one Mega Man game or every Virtual Boy game?
Oh, damn. My eyes have bled for way too long. That Mega Man game.
Cartridge or disc?
Cartridge.
Metal Blade or Metal Blade, you idiot?
Metal Blade, you idiot?
Yeah, that's the correct answer.
Okay.
Red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, or crystal?
Blue.
Good answer. The Duke, a.k.a. Fatty, or S-Controller?
Oh, man. S-Controller.
PC or console?
Console.
Classic Castlevania or Metroidvania?
What is Metroidvania?
Oh, that's the Symphony of the Night.
Oh, I didn't play that.
Are you serious?
I know. You yell at me every time I tell you I played this Castlevania game.
I'm making you play that. You just hurt my soul. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Did you answer?
What?
I was too busy being mad. I don't even remember what you answered.
Classic Castlevania? I don't know. I have the Game Boy one, and I played the N64 one, which you almost slapped me for one time. So.
I'm going to slap you again. I'm glad we're recording far away. All right. A lifetime of Baby Mario crying, 4 hours a day, or having herpes?
Baby Mario.
Atari or Intellivision?
Atari.
To blow or not blow?
To blow, baby.
And the last question, and I think our segue into the next discussion, Mario 3 or Super Mario World?
Super Mario World.
Good answer. John, you did very well. I'm kind of glad Nick's not here just because I would have argued with him on every answer.
Yeah, I could see that coming, man. That was a lot of geared towards arguing for him. You set that up.
Good stuff. Well, that about does it for me, and I think that about does it for this episode. Again, this is our episode 0.5, because episode 0 we screwed up, so this is a redo. I don't have any closing comments. I don't want anyone to find me on Twitter right now. I'm not ready for that. John, any closing comments out of you?
No, I'm excited to get this going again. I bought a super old house, and I've been working on it for far too long now, so it'll be nice to kick back with some Irish whiskey and some Super Nintendo.
Well, once you're off your go fermentation thing, we'll get going. So
I'll be back.
I don't think we've changed this, right? Our first game is going to be Super Mario World.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right, we'll get to that when we get to that. That's it for me.
Signing off.
Signing off.